United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which you will probably hear a big chunk of going forward in your life. A little bit more literature is from my friend Simon Sinek. He is basically writing books and has a lot of tutorials. We will cover some of the videos that we will be discussing about are from his lectures and from his books. It's all about leadership, what makes up good business, and actually a reflective journey on why you want to be an entrepreneur and what makes business and entrepreneurship exciting. Here is a book that he just wrote recently, Leaders Eat Last, which is also covering a chapter on leading millennials, so pretty much your age group. You have completely different aspirations, sets of values and expectations than our generation and the generation before us. And this all needs to be taken care of when we think of creating a business. The book which he wrote and brought him to fame, to being a famous writer, is Start With Why. This is actually the most fundamental question you need to ask yourself as an entrepreneur. Why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Why does the world need my idea and my solution that I bring to solve a problem? Why are you embarking into the world of entrepreneurship and business? Very interesting, easy to read, and quite easy to understand. There's also a lot of video tutorials on YouTube about this and all the other books. Last but not least, Find Your Why, which goes a little similar direction as to Start With Why. But to start with why does not mean you have found it. So it's going to be an easy journey. The book is made up in type of exercises, multiple choice questions, which will help you to understand some of the frameworks that we will actually cover in the tutorials as well as in the one-to-one sessions. And it's quite interesting for you to basically work through many of the content that we will be covering. Here again, we're coming to an end with the books. It's just giving you a flavor. Here, The New Business Road Test is basically a book that talks about what entrepreneurs and executives should do before launching a business. So the course is actually also going to be structured in a way that we will think and reflect about what we need to do before we launch a business, what we need to do when we create the company, and what we need to do when we launch the business, and last but not least, about the possible exit strategy. It's another great book that you can read, and try and get some information on. Then this one, The End of Fundraising. Now, as we know, we all need money. All businesses need money. Otherwise, we will not be able to even launch the business. So Jason Saul has a very interesting approach in how we need to change our assumptions when we raise money and how we actually need to create and build our pitch deck and presentation when we approach the investors. Also, this is going to be very relevant in terms of what we cover in the program. You don't necessarily need to read the book, but we will cover some of those aspects because they are pivotal and cornerstones of your journey. Here, there's another book, Why Nations Fail. which is going to walk you through the origins of power, prosperity, and poverty, which again is very strongly related to business and entrepreneurship. You need to reflect on the power and the position you want to have in the market. Do you want to cover a niche product, a niche market, or do you want to rule and monitor the market and control the market? You know, you can reflect on who are leading the markets in technology these days. You know, is it Apple? Is it Netflix? Is it Huawei? Is it, you know, many other tech firms out there? Is it Microsoft? And so on and so forth. You know, they all started with an idea, and today they are at these levels where they have to think about how powerful they are. Are they creating prosperity? And how are they balancing inequalities? We're coming to an end. Don't want to bore you too much with it. Here is another cool book, which is called The Donut Economics, which allows you as an entrepreneur and as a business person to adopt the mindset of an economist, because there's a lot of variables and impacts that you need to take into equation once you have started your business and you want to navigate the trajectory. It starts from creating a local business and then expanding it to become a global business. Hence, this is also relevant literature that you can look at and reflect upon before you embark on the program. And here, I promise we are coming to an end. Here, now all the others were a little bit more about business theory and business concepts. Here, there's a few books which are actually talking about real businesses. Philip Brothers, 1901 to 1990. This is clearly, none of us was born. I was, but you weren't. And covers the story of one of the most successful trading companies in history and shows you the mistakes they committed and why they failed. Great book, great story. Here, this is a biography of Mr. Mark Rich. He actually is called the King of Oil. He was one of the probably morally questionable person that we had back in the 1980s to the early 2000s. He started as a very small business trading company in Switzerland. He was working for Philip Brothers, actually, as a very young chap. And then he created the world's largest trading company in mineral and mining, oil, and all other sort of commodities. He is a market maker. He created a whole new market, and which is still the benchmark in today's global economy. Very interesting. It shows the shadows of being a decent person and actually being kind of like a criminal. You will read it. If you can even go through and just read his short biography on the internet if you don't want to read the whole book. But anyway, it's very interesting. Reaching to the end, here is another great story, Cold Steel, which basically shows the climbing of Lakshmi Mittal, which is an Indian industrialist which started from very modest origins and today is the world's largest steel and mineral mining company. Also very interesting to see the analogies, to see what it took, what entrepreneurial journey this individual and his family took. Last but not least, and this is really for the long, dark winter months, and if you have nothing else to think about. But it's very intriguing. Warren Buffett used to be the world's richest man, and worthwhile to dig into his short biography. You don't need to read the whole book. I did read it. Took me a long time. Very interesting to see where he started from his mother's journey and what he did in order to bring his empire to world famous status, and his company is very, very, very interesting. And Hathaway Berkshire, by the way, which controls a lot of the businesses we are very familiar with, and which we have has an impact on our day-to-day lives. To conclude, I want to walk you through the structure of the program, the way you should approach the entire course. So we would cover 4 main topics. The topic number 1 is we start in analyzing what business and entrepreneurship is, what it actually requires to be an entrepreneur, and then how to build a business is topic number 2. Topic number 3 is how do I build a market, and what does it take for me to be a market player. And topic number 4 is how do I actually launch my business? What elements do I need to cover in order to launch my business? Which is, you will have to reflect whether you want to have a local or a global presence, as the book before was saying. How urgently is the product needed in the market? You know, because you might have an idea which takes many, many years to develop and to progress. Can the market actually wait for it? Or do you have to use an existing idea, change it, adjust it, and bring a hybrid of your original idea to the market as you keep developing the other main product? And there's many companies that started with one idea and then they pivoted away and became something completely different. We have to think about supply chain, you know. What is my vertical and horizontal integration? I depend on people that need to provide me something, and other people in the chain depend on me providing another work package in order for them to progress. So as an entrepreneur, you need to think about all this. What's your sales strategy? How do you generate revenue? Are you prepared for the different scenarios? At time of recording, I'm sitting in my living room and we are self-isolating and in lockdown because of the coronavirus. Now, I dare to say that 99% of the companies and businesses out there did not see this coming. And they were absolutely unprepared to cope with it and now have to deal with the consequences. But a scenario planning allows you as an